This is Expound, expanding your knowledge of the truth of God by explaining the Word of God in a way that is interactive, enjoyable, and congregational.
Now, I want to introduce you to a little video, just a few moments. In a moment, you're going to actually, once again, meet the guy. But we have a brother who comes to this fellowship, and he's also the dean of Trinity Seminary, Southwest, and he's been overseas digging the last several years. I mean, digging literally. He's an archaeologist, and he believes that he has uncovered the biblical city of Sodom. So let's run this little video, and then I'll introduce the man to you himself. You are the modern Indiana Jones. I mean, you are like the true because you have a background with Egyptian history and archaeology as well. I've had conversations. You're just so well read and so well rounded that you've been compared to the Indiana, haven't you? I mean, people have told you that.
Well, I hope
I've told you that.
The good side of that.
You even have a whip.
Yeah, you gave me
a
whip. I know. Here's what I say. A lot of people say, what about Indiana Jones? I say, well, our life is like way more exciting than that.
Yeah.
But if archaeology can't be made fun and interesting, then it's lost on a lot of people. And so if Indiana Jones has done anything, if those movies have done anything, it kind of gives people a little bit of an impetus to kind of look into it and kind of see what's happening. And Indiana Jones, there's a lot of myth and legend around, just a lot of fiction going on there.
Sure.
What I would tell people is that the scientific world of the reality of biblical archaeology, to me, is way more exciting than anything you'll ever see in an Indiana Jones movie, because the biblical text is giving us pictures of the ancient world and of all of these stories that we grew up with and showing us the reality behind them. Okay. And to me, that's much more, the real thing to me is much more exciting than the fiction of Indiana Jones.
One final question. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
1.5 pounds.
You came right at that. Okay, we're done, right? Of course, of the entire interview, that's what they chose. Of course, they did that. But that is a couple of moments of what was otherwise a serious and well-informed interview. 45-minute interview with Indiana Jones, Dr. Stephen Collins. Welcome him, would you?
Thanks, Skip.
Dr. Jones, where is the ark? Sorry.
Yeah.
Steve,
you're having too much fun, Skip.
I know. We had a lot of fun in that interview. It was very informative. I asked you a lot of serious questions about your dig, and one of the most important is that you have talked in the past how you found the biblical city of Sodom by using the biblical text, which is very different from how a lot of archaeologists approach finding something in order to uncover it. Excuse me for all of that stuttering, but where you have discovered this place that you believe is biblical Sodom, how does that differ in relationship to where it has been traditionally on the Bible maps?
Well, let me just say this, always been in the right place.
Okay, there you go.
And it's right where we're digging. It's just that a few scholars messed up along the way and didn't follow the biblical text. It's the thing we always say, when in doubt, follow instructions. Read the instructions. Well, the instruction booklet to get to Sodom is Genesis chapter 13. If they'd have read it, they would have found it a long time ago. Now, the 19th century scholars did find it, but somehow they lost it in the 20th century, and we had to go find it again.
That's right. You've actually uncovered documents where scholarship, and it's not been really released, it's not widely known, have located Sodom exactly where you have.
Exactly. They stood on top of it and said, we don't know which of these piles of ruins is Sodom, but it has to be here.
And you told me, didn't you, that you were on the other side of the Jordan River in Israel, standing on the ancient ruins of another city you were digging at the time, the city of Ai in the book of Joshua, and you were looking at the biblical text and you said Sodom has to be over there.
Yeah, I mean, Lot looked eastward and went eastward from Ai, from Bethel and Ai, and we were digging there, and we looked over, and you could actually, we didn't know at the time exactly pinpointing where it was, but we could see it from there.
How many seasons have you been digging over there?
Just finished number 6.
Number 6. So 6 years of archaeology. And when you go over there, it's not just a guy with a shovel. You have a whole team of scientists, archaeologists.
Yeah, we had over 100 volunteers, a staff of about 30, and about 30 local workers. So we had a big team this year.
And this season was, I would say, monumental, because I've been following you in your digs in most every season. But this was different in some of the things that you discovered, even some shocking discoveries that lend the biblical story, kind of brings it to the forefront and confirm the Bible's explanation of what happened to Sodom. Is that right?
Yeah, before this season, everybody would always ask, what's the evidence for the destruction? And before this season, I would always say, oh, we have ash and destruction debris up to 1 meter thick. But until this season, we weren't able to say that we had any people. This season, we found human skeletons and thrown down in the ash matrix, covered over with piles of debris, mud bricks, pottery. And they were literally violently thrown down on their faces as if they had turned away from an impending destruction.
Wow, we're looking actually now at some of the pictures of this. You can see it right there in front of you. Is that a measuring stick of how long they are?
Yeah, that's a meter. Each one of those is 10 centimeters.
So we're looking at what, the upper arm, the humerus?
That's leg bones, actually.
Oh, the femur.
Tibia,
wow.
fibula, yeah, in the femur.
Oh, tib and fib, I see, yeah. Okay, wow.
Now that's interesting. All those little circles are bone scatter. That's extra body parts strewn through the matrix. So some of the people were literally ripped apart.
So when you're digging through this, once you approach a human remains like this, you have to proceed very slowly, don't you?
Yeah, extremely. We had 2 osteologists and another physiologist, actually.
No, osteologist is somebody who looks at bones. Bone guys.
Yeah, bone guys. Guys with PhDs in
bone
physiology, human physiology, and MDs. And they're looking at this stuff and carefully describing the way the joints are ripped apart. And it was a traumatic death for each one of these 3 individuals, 2 adults and 1 child, plus the extra body parts from a whole lot of other people.
Now, what a lot of people don't understand is that to go on a dig, it takes finances. You have to have funding from a number of sources, because you sustain a large number of people throughout the years, and so just when you get down to the right level, you need even more funds, I would assume, to keep the digs going for another couple of years.
Yeah, some of these bones have even got to go through carbon-14 analysis, so that's very expensive stuff. So we've spent several $1 million by now, and we'll need a lot more in the next 10 years with this new contract we've got.
Okay, so I have a lot of questions, but one that comes to my mind, what is the take of the scientific community that doesn't have the biblical base that you and I share to your finds?
Well, you can't doubt the science. You look at it, you know something dramatic happened, because they know we're in the right place. They know we're in the right time frame. All they can say is, well, it's some high level of coincidence going on here. Okay. I mean, people are going to believe whatever they want. Facts are facts, and the facts coming out of the ground every year for 6 years now keep indicating that this is biblical Sodom. It was destroyed exactly as the Bible says it was.
Dr. Collins, we're studying about Egypt in our Wednesday night study. What was going on, if anything, between that large city you've uncovered, Sodom, in the Levant, in that disk area, compared to the dynasties of Egypt? Was there any relationship between them at all?
Yeah, in fact, it spans, el-Hammam, Sodom, spans the entire history of Egypt. So it goes through the pre-dynastic period, the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, where Abraham would be associated.
Was there any trade going back and forth?
Oh, lots. We have a lot of Egyptian artifacts on the site.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So that feeds right into the story we're dealing
with. In fact, Moses and the Israelites camped at el-Hammam on the very site of biblical Sodom before they crossed the river.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, this is all Abel Shittim, where they camped. This is the site. The Ark of the Covenant sat right on top, we think, of where the Canaanite temple stood at Hammam.
See,
at
you
Sodom.
are Indiana Jones. The Ark of the Covenant. There it is again.
It's not there, though.
You haven't discovered it, have you?
It went across the river.
Okay. Okay, so one final thing. You've had a little bit of resistance with the antiquities authorities in Jordan until this year. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, with a new director general, new head guy in the Department of Antiquities. He gathered me up one day and he said, I want to come and spend 2 or 3 days with you. I want you to tell me everything you know about this subject. I want to see all your evidence. Let's talk. And we did. And after we got through, he threw his hands up and said, I'm convinced this is probably the most important archaeological excavation in Jordan. And I'll add one word to his. He didn't say it this way. He didn't say perhaps, but I'll say it for him. Perhaps this is the most important archaeological discovery of all time.
Wow.
Quote, that's a quote.
And you're doing it. Give a big hand for Dr. Stephen Collins. Thank you very much, Steve, for being here. Now, this whole interview that we did, if you go to expoundabq.org, you'll see 45 minutes of interviews, and he brings out a lot of the finds and the science, and it's definitely worth going to and checking it out.